Well, I started as the volunteer coordinator, which I think is the best job that anyone can have at a nonprofit organization. I didn't understand what a volunteer coordinator even did at that time, but because of my business, you might say expertise, and I was always about connecting with people. I'm a very people-oriented person, and I want people to understand or be educated in whatever that I'm involved in. I want to educate people. And so I began to start volunteer orientations and developed a PowerPoint, and I had a connection with all the places in the mission. So whether it was food service or education or the youth center or the women's center, or the men's center, or whatever it was, I got to connect people from the outside to the ministry, and it just opened up doors for me to go out and speak. And then as time went on, because there wasn't much of a team in the development team at that time, I've learned at a nonprofit, sometimes people say, well, how do you advance? And I say, stick and stay. And something will happen where maybe someone will leave and they'll come to you and ask you, can you do this too? And they just kind of incorporate it in your job description. So as time went on, we just started to develop more and speaking to donors, volunteers, going out and speaking. I would take residents out to go with me because that was always the catalyst of them hearing their story. And just as time went on, all of a sudden we had a team, and I became then the director of development. Well, the vision statement's pretty simple. It's no one is homeless, and I always add now and forever. Of course, we don't want anyone to be homeless here on earth, but when you're kingdom building also at the same time, you know that you're talking about not only you don't want to be homeless here, but we want you to know that you have a home forever in heaven. And how do you have that? And so we introduce people to Jesus, and that's where we find that really makes a difference in men and women's lives. Even our youth center, when we have summer camp and after school programs, it's all about introducing them to Jesus, because Jesus is the one that gives the purpose to life. And he's the one that loved us so much that he gave his own life. And when a person who is hurting, desperate, don't know where else to turn and think life is over, to find that God sent his only son to die for you, for me, and to give us a new life. It was a resurrection for me in my own life, even though I had known him before. But when I went through a very difficult time in life and depression, it was like a reintroduction to understanding how much that God loved me, if I was willing to lay it down and surrender my will to him. And that's what it's all about, and that's what we see as our homeless men, women, and children come to us. It's about surrender and introducing them to abundant life through Jesus. Well, there's so many ways. I mean, it's a plethora of ways, and we have so many outreaches on the street, and we have about 4 outreaches that are gigantic. And we call them, they're all different names. The first one in the year is Thanksgiving on Good Friday. And that particular one is one of my favorites because that's actually the one where we do the foot washing. And our residents actually do a play. They actually do the passion play out on the street. People come to eat. Thousands come. This is not just hundreds. We're talking about thousands when we include both our Miami and Broward centers together. And they come because they know they're going to get a good meal. We call it Thanksgiving on Good Friday because it's actually a Thanksgiving meal. But it's more than that. It's more than the meal. It's more than serving the meal. We have a big stage out on the street. We have intake tables, prayer tents. We have ministry teams that go out throughout the crowd just to talk to people, put their arm around them and says, what can I do to pray for you today? And if someone is really desperate and needing to come off the street, they lead them right over to the intake table and say, okay, let's do it. Let's have a life change today. Let's start it today. And so the ministry teams, the foot washing tent, we have Barry University podiatry students. They come every year. They've come for the last 10 years. And they give foot care, and then they get new socks and shoes. So outreaches all through the year. We have Christmas in July. we have Thanksgiving, and then we have the big Christmas outreach. So everyone has a different focus, but hundreds of volunteers will sign up, and they will have job descriptions, and they know exactly what they're doing on that day. So, and then there's also teams that go out on the street. We call it the crew. Christians ready, equipped, and willing to put feet on evangelism. And they go out throughout the year. They meet like once a month. They go out together. They go to the places where we know the homeless are congregating. They'll give them hygiene. They'll talk to them. They'll strike up a conversation. They'll pray with them. And then we follow with a van. And if that, you know, my mom always said, strike when the iron's hot. Right. And when that person says, I wish I could get off the street, oh, by the way, we have a van right here. If you'd like, it says Miami Rescue Mission right on the van. You can see what it is. We're not taking you to anywhere crazy. Come right in, and we'll take you in that day. No other questions asked. And last year, over 60 came off the streets just from the van going out. We're going to expand that operation in Broward now this year. Well, discipleship, they actually have a program. It's called the Regeneration Program. When I was first hired, our previous president, Dr. Frank Jacobson, and his wife Maxine, I remember one day he brought me into the office and he said, Marilyn, why do we feed people here? And I knew it was not going to be the easy answer. Oh, because people are hungry. Of course people are hungry, and they come in because they are hungry. But see, their hunger physically and spiritually. And the reason the mission feeds is because so we have that opportunity to share the gospel. So just like Jesus, when he was out there and on the mountain, they were away from town, and there was no fast food places, and you know, he was preaching and giving the gospel, but the people, you know, were also physically hungry, and so he also fed them. But it was a spiritual food and a physical food. So here at the mission, we feed first physically and then spiritually, because you can't talk to someone when they're so hungry and they're so hurting, they're dirty, and they need a shower, they need clean clothes, they need hygiene, they need shelter for the night. But after all that is done, see, that every bit of that is love given at the same time, and they begin to feel that. And you don't have to preach Jesus, you live Jesus. And I think that's what happens here at the mission. Well, that's what I love to talk about, because I'm always inviting the community to come alongside, whether it's a group or an individual. Of course, the easiest way to go is to go to our website, caringplace.org. You'll see a volunteer button you can click on to, and then you can say if you want to go to be part of Broward or Miami. But we have, again, so many ways to get involved. When we have different focus groups that focus in on a certain agenda. So if your passion is women that are coming out of abuse, domestic violence, homelessness, we know that 85% of our women that come to us are coming because of domestic violence and abuse. I mean, we've done our own internal research, and so we know that. So they come from a little different way than maybe some of the men are coming. They might be addicted to drugs, but sometimes that's not the issue for them. They are just so scared or run down. They've been told they can't amount to anything. They can't be independent. They can't survive without the man. And so first we have to build them up and help them to know that they can be empowered. And so as we have these groups, focus groups of women that come alongside, they mentor them while they're here. They do all kind of different fundraisers, and they do baby showers, and they do birthday parties. And so our cover girls and our girlfriends for girlfriends, they come alongside, and they are plugged in with our women. We do fundraising for safe and affordable housing. We're on our third multiplex house right now that Girlfriends for Girlfriends has done. So it's just if you care about men, we have the home run team. If you say my passion is education, We have the Reach Education Focus Group, and they just focus on making sure that when our men and women come in and they're going through the education department, that it's more than just being on the computer. They have someone sitting with them, maybe helping them one-on-one. They have panel discussions. They'll bring in expertise about jobs and careers and resume building. So again, you know, when you volunteer at the mission, it's not just about serving the food. It's also about getting involved maybe with children, at-risk children, and being part of our after-school program. So whatever your passion is, we want to connect you so that you're fulfilling your dream of making a difference in the world. Well, you know, the name of the show is Answer the Call. So I know that I had to answer the call because I'm a CFP, Certified Financial Planner. Been in retail business for many years of my life. But after my first husband passed away, and actually it goes back to when I was a child, when I was 10 years old, I knew that I had a call on my life then. And maybe I didn't answer the call exactly the way that God wanted me to answer the call. And so, you know, I was involved in business and bringing up the family. But God gave me the call again after my first husband passed away. And I told God, I'm done. There's nothing more to get out of me. And then I just laid down and surrendered and said, well, whatever you want, I'll do, but I have nothing to offer you. And I remember God distinctly speaking to me and said, that's good. Because now you'll know from here on out that whatever happens in your life is not because of what you know, but because of what I will do in your life. And you need to surrender and answer the call. And so that's what I did. What God said to me in those years when I was coming out of depression and hurting so much is He said, I'm not telling you what you're going to do. I just want you to listen to my voice and start knowing when I'm speaking and obey and learn to be under authority. That was a very difficult thing for me because I kind of always been my own boss. And He said, I want you to learn to be under authority because here at the mission, everybody's under authority of something. And you always have a supervisor. I mean, we even have a board of directors, so there's always someone that you have to answer to. And you have to learn to be under authority. Godly authority is the best authority to be under. And knowing that God, when He speaks, that you're answering. And I just had to learn sometimes to even wake up in the morning and take off outfits because He said, I don't want you to wear that. I mean, it was just, you know, sometimes it doesn't even make sense. You know, you're driving and He says, you know, turn left instead of right now. And you're like, why? I have to go this way. So some simple things like that. I even remember where God's saying, give away 2 dresses that I had just bought to the African Children's Choir that had come to our church. And there was this young lady who had come and He said, give 2 dresses. I said, well, I just bought those and I hardly can afford even that and I'm looking forward to wearing them. And God says, you know, give 1. And then He said to me, if you're going to continue to argue with me, I'll say both. And I was like, okay, you know. And then the young lady cried and said, the one thing I wanted while I was here in the United States was an American dress. And I almost missed the blessing. So what is God saying to you today? Don't try to figure out the whole call. Just find out what is He asking you to do today and just go step by step. And then you'll find out what the call is.
Hi, I'm Pastor Chuck Reish. I'm the executive producer at Horizon Media Studios. It's a 501c3 media ministry, and what we're doing is helping other ministries tell their story. Homeless shelters and children's homes, Bible colleges, seminaries, mission sending agencies. With your help, we can continue to help tell their story to inspire the world, to shine their light and let God get the glory for the work that's being done in advancing the kingdom of Jesus Christ. Thanks again for praying for us.